I got to tell you, Derek, before I even introduced the podcast, when you were signaling me to like, okay, yeah, John, we're going live. I thought you just had your middle finger up based on my perspective. So I thought you were pulling one of these. All right, John, go. And I was like, why? Like, what did
No,
I do
it's
to
so
you?
out of character for Derek.
It's always the revolver ocelot. Like,
Oh,
You're pretty
okay,
good.
all right. Oh, yeah, you're pretty good. All right. Perfect.
Derek,
Well, now that
you
we
need
got
to
that squared
actually
away.
like juggle the revolvers
Derek,
like,
good luck.
and
Derek, you should juggle the microphones the next time we do this.
sure, bud.
No, okay.
Sure.
Now that we've cleared that up, now that we cleared up that Derek is not in fact angry at me. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Superlux Gamescast. It is Thursday, February 1st. We are already a month into 2024, and it's already been a month. It's already been a year. It's been 2024 thus far. And
Liz, it's Wednesday.
yeah, and tonight is something I've been looking forward to for some time, because tonight we are going to talk about our personal games of the year, and runners up for 2023.
Now, this is usually something we get done maybe more like mid-January, so we're definitely coming to this a couple weeks later than we normally would. Apologies. This one, God, snuck up on us. Time is a circle.
It really is.
But we are here. We are here to talk Game of the Year 2023. So sorry, my
Eric,
wife
you look
is.
like you've lost something.
Yeah, well, my wife keeps throwing shit under the door.
What is she
because
throwing?
Well, right now first it was a cookie and then it was sandals. Hi, Britt. Britt has joined us. All right, let me throw her in here. So the way this is going to work, we all decided on our games of the year, our runners up, and a couple of honorable mentions. So I've got everybody's graphics together. What I would like to do is start by going over the games of the year. Going from the least to most mentioned games of the year. So we end on our
throw the graphics up on the stream.
We will do that.
Okay.
So once we are done with our like actual game of the year, I would then like to go around to everybody, show their graphic, and give them a little bit of time to talk about like their runners up and their honorable mentions and why each of those kind of mattered to them. But we'll start with the meat. We're going to start with the games of the year. We're unfortunately going to start with a game of the year.
We're going to start game of the year? I thought we end on game of the year.
Well, there's no way to show the graphics without giving away the games of the year, so I kind of have to do
fair.
that first.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
We'll think of more dramatic ways to do this next year.
And
maybe.
do you just want to do it by person?
That's kind of what I was thinking. And I want to start with, unfortunately, the only one of us who's not here tonight is CJ. CJ's game of the year was Super Mario Wonder, which is not a surprising pick from CJ, knowing his love for 2D platformers. Without
but also,
CJ,
he's usually not the biggest Mario fan.
Well,
like,
when's the last time he got
2D?
like a true
Yeah.
2D Mario, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, the last one was the new Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, or whatever the hell it was called, Deluxe U, whatever. And I think a lot of us had grown tired of the new Super Mario Brothers formula at that point. So
Yeah. Now, I know Finn played quite a bit of Super Mario Wonder, and I know John did. Who else here played Super Mario Wonder?
played a shitload of Super Mario.
I played a
Wonder.
little bit.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I still haven't had a chance to play Super Mario Wonder like on my own terms. My only interaction with it was we played a little bit at the charity event. And of course, playing that multiplayer did not work out for me personally. But it sure seems like everybody fell in love with this game. Finn, I know this one was, while it didn't make it to your game of the year, was still special for you.
Correct.
I kind of want to hear you speak to what was special about Super Mario Wonder to you.
Every level was special. Every level introduced a mechanic or an idea that was never really replicated. So every single level, every stage that you went to felt unique, even though the worlds were themed as they always are. Like previous 2D Mario games, while always like good, kind of blended together. You know what I mean? Like there was really not a lot to set it apart, but Wonder just had crazy ideas that stick with you, and visually just awesome.
Yeah. John, I know you also. We were getting together for the charity event, and I'll just never forget John being like, "I'm going to spend half this event just playing Mario Wonder in the fucking corner."
You know,
Off in your cuck chair.
Did. He sure did.
Even though I wanted to play it with everyone, everyone was like, "No, I don't want to
Yeah.
play
God,
it
I
'cause you
can't,
guys
but
suck."
I can't wait for my fucking beard to come back. It's pissed me off.
Why'd you
But
shoot it off?
you know what's weird is that I can see Brit on the stream, but I can't see her in Discord. It just says
Interesting.
your camera's off in Discord. That's really weird. That's very strange. It's really fucking me up, actually.
I think
All
it's
right,
an
so
issue on you because I can see
Yeah.
it fine.
Can you
weird.
hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay.
You're
I was
good.
like, shit.
But no, Super Mario. Okay, yeah. So Super Mario Wonder. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's better than Super Mario World, but I think it's right underneath there. And I actually, I figured we'd be talking about a little bit about World because it was CJ's Game of the Year. So I replayed Super Mario or Wonder. So I replayed World, and World is still my favorite 2D Mario, but this is a very close second. I love some of the new power ups, like the elephant, the big ass elephant power up.
Drill Hat Mario is the GOAT.
Drill Hat Mario is awesome. Drill Hat Mario fucking rules. I will say that I think Wonder was a little on the easy side. But
So,
aside from
Nintendo's been
Go
doing
ahead.
this thing with Mario games, the last several of them, where the first chunk of the game is very easy, and then you clear credits, and then there's a bunch of much more difficult content like after that. Is that kind of how Wonder ended up shaping up?
I think so.
Because I think
Yeah.
famously, like 3D World and then especially Odyssey, like all the hardest stuff was after the credits. It's like they saved a whole third of the game for after it was over.
Yeah. I think so. I think so. I haven't done all of the like, I can't remember what they're called, but like, every 2D Mario has those, like, Super Mario World had Star Road and like I haven't finished any of those because those are fucking hard as shit. And that really pissed me off. And I was gonna throw my Switch, so I just decided to put my Switch down as opposed to throw it across the room. But yeah, I love Super Mario World or Wonder. Jesus Christ, fucking W words, dude.
Yeah,
I can't do
John, I don't think you've gotten the title of the game right.
Not even once.
Justin.
Super Mario Awesome was real good, everybody.
Shut up, nerds.
Super Mario Special. Nintendo does this thing with Mario games. Every single time a Mario game is going to come out, I think most of us go, yeah, that'll probably be pretty good. I'll get around to it. And then you play it, and it's like life-alteringly good. And it's incredible to me how often they can pull that trick on us. Which makes me surprised that I've taken so long to get to Wonder. I truly wish CJ had the opportunity to be here to because that CJ would launch into like a Roger Ebert spiel of how fucking magical Mario Wonder is, and I'm sad I'm missing that tonight, but that's okay. I want to move on next to the Giving John Shit segment.
Hell yeah.
Because John,
My favorite part.
We made it all of 10 minutes
yeah,
before reaching it.
I could not let this be the first, but we do have to get to this. John's game of the year was the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster.
Of course.
Just embarrassing.
Of course it was. Like, did you motherfuckers think it was going to be something else?
First off, only Jeff is allowed.
I'm in John's defense camp tonight. You know what?
Thank you.
Game of the year is it's like we're in the embassy. We all have diplomatic immunity. This is the one time a year where like we just get to say what we love.
Yeah.
So John, I want to hear all about this game that you've played.
It's
30
just
times.
funny because
Well,
it's not just like a game that he famously plays
I know.
twice a year. It's not just a re-release of a game that came out in 1994. The
but he
Pixel
played
remasters,
the PC version of the Pixel
the
remaster.
Pixel
too.
remasters came out in 2022. 2023 is just the PS4 and Switch versions.
What I will say is this. really, it's more than anything. It's not even just the 6 pixel remaster. It's the entire collection on consoles.
You tried
right?
to get
Because
away
they're-
with that, and we made you pick one.
You tried to
so.
claim it, but that's not how that
But-
works.
But yeah, no, like this to me is probably the definitive way to play all 6 of those games, right? Except for 2. I don't know why you'd want to play Final Fantasy 2. Like, I mean, why would you do that to yourself? But no, like, you know, obviously the first 6 Final Fantasy games, well, the first 5 Final Fantasy games are very special to me, very near and dear to my heart, especially Final Fantasy 6, which is literally a game that saved my life when I was a teenager. I've talked about it before, so I won't bore anybody with the details about that yet again. But Final Fantasy 6 is an extremely formative game for me. It's the moment where video games became not just a fun pastime, but something that I took seriously and something that I knew would stick with me for the rest of my life. And so really the reason that I'm so psyched about the Pixel remaster is, excuse me, now it is going to be so much easier for new generations and younger players to get their hands on this, and then the rest of the original 6 Final Fantasy games. To me, like, yeah, the GBA content is missing. I don't consider it outside of ironically Final Fantasy 2, which actually had some really cool story elements in its Game Boy Advance content. I don't consider any of the GBA content like, you know, they're all extra.
This is where we differ.
It's all an extra dungeon, and I don't think it's all that. I don't think it's really that big of a deal.
2 dope extra dungeons, extra espers. It's not necessary content. It's not crucial content. But
It'd have
it's
been nice to
awesome
have,
content.
but
It's nice to have, but
awesome
it's not
content.
necessary to the experience. You can play the Final Fantasy 6 Pixel remaster and get the entire experience. And like the remastered music, or not remastered, but the rearranged music is fucking god tier. And you know, I still choose to play with the classic chip tunes because of nostalgia. But I'm glad that it's there for people who are into that kind of thing. But I'm just happy that I have a readily accessible, available my favorite game of all time on my favorite console, and it's great. I fucking love it. I love everything. But talking about it is making me want to replay it again. It's just a very, very I'm so fucking happy that this exists.
I give you a lot of shit, right? I think we all do.
Rightfully
But
so.
yeah, correct, rightfully so. But like, Final Fantasy VI is a game that's super important to you. And it's a large part of how we bonded even, right? Like, I remember you and Finn calling me up on Discord and like being like, okay, before we can even let you on this podcast, what's your favorite Final Fantasy?
Yeah,
and I
we
was
need
like,
it's
between 9 and 6, and it's probably 6. And you were like, all right, he's good. Like,
it's fine.
He passed the test.
Yeah.
Fine. His
So-
heart is pure.
like, you know, it means a lot to me that this game is accessible now to so many people, because I think a lot of people, even though it has been easily available through emulation for a very long time, I just think there's a lot of people who don't do that, right?
Not only that, but like it's just like not only has it aged incredibly gracefully from a visual standpoint, the new spell effects and stuff are just fucking great.
Well, and
Like-
also like on the like note about ease of use is like also we're at a point where games are going to be carrying forward more than ever, and they're going to be, you know, they're on more devices and stuff, and like getting like an actual proper collection now means it's probably going to last for a very long time,
A very
and
long time.
be easily accessible for a lot of people for the foreseeable future, which hasn't been true in the past when they've done collections like this. And so that's why I think, you know, getting re-releases, remasters, stuff like this now, especially when they're handled with care, for what the original thing is, as you know, as well as like adding in some quality of life things.
And that's
I think that stuff's really important.
No, I agree.
And I think it lets a lot of people, because yeah, I played FF6 through emulation the first time. That
was your option for a lot of folks, right?
Well, I was in high school. You know, the Super NES was well out of production, And it was just like, well, it's either that or I'm never going to be able to play this game. You know, and then other versions came out later on and stuff that I have since played. But, you know, the fact that people can pick, you know, these games up, and also because, you know, with, you know, 14 being as popular as it is, the Final Fantasy VII Remake series being popular, like people can now check out like a history of this series and see like how it grew and how it came to be where it is.
That actually, you know, Brit, you know, actually was playing some of the post Endwalker content and then went back and played Final Fantasy IV. And Brit, that must have been especially interesting for you to be like, oh shit, I remember this from 14.
So, like, it's no surprise that Golbez is in the game, but I'm trying to catch up on main story quests, and I just got to his fight. I haven't done it yet, but it's like, it's so cool to see, and I'll go more into this later, but it's so cool to see, like, things happen and me get references, and yeah, I was determined. I quit 14 for a long time because I was like, I want to finish 4 before I go back to 14 and finish that quest line, because it's really the first time that a Final Fantasy like world has been included in 14 itself. Like, yeah,
Like the
there's like
main
aspects.
story,
Yeah, there's aspects that are there, and you know, all these nods and dungeons and stuff, but nothing that's actually been actually like Final Fantasy lore. So that's been really cool, and I think it was the right choice.
Like the Garlean Empire is very clearly influenced by the Gestalian Empire in Final Fantasy. There's actually a ton of 6 influences in 14, but that's what they are, right? Like they're influences. 4 is the first time that they have directly referenced characters and, like, outside of raids and stuff, characters and storylines in the main narrative of 14. And it makes me really interested to see where that's going to go next. But that was one thing that I actually really appreciated about the Pixel Remasters, Brit, is that it let you go back very easily and play 4 and go, oh shit, like.
And the quality of life updates were just
the
best.
And Zeramus is a motherfucker. Like,
yeah, like I know Rar and me also played 4 for the Rar and I also played 4 for the first time this year, and like we were talking about it in this Discord server, both are like, oh my god, like people played this without these, like, without 4 times XP and 4 times money. Are you like, do you hate yourself?
Like, you grounded out is what you did. Like, also,
no, it was great because like we never played it before.
Jeff,
And honestly, we never would have played it.
Jeff, I need to tell you, the first time I played Final Fantasy VII was the PC version on a laptop.
Oh, the original PC version.
Yeah, on a laptop from 1998 that couldn't properly support the audio, so all the sound was distorted, and the frame rate was so bad the game ran in slow motion. And I beat that thing. Like, it was the first video game I ever finished, beginning to end.
God. Well, like, look, again, we can give John all the shit we want, but like 2 other people put Pixel Remasters onto this list, right? So like,
you're right, motherfuckers. That's right.
What that means is that like, you know, it's
obviously
games,
an important release.
Yes, right? Yes. These games getting
even all these years later.
Yeah, getting that broad release, reaching so many new people, providing both accessibility and like approachability. You know, in terms of like the boosts and things like that are in the console releases, which didn't they just finally update the PC version to have like the boosts?
Like literally this week.
Yeah.
And they're on sale on PC right now. And on the
sale everywhere right now.
Also.
John just shilling for Square.
I'm not convinced John didn't find someone to get those updated.
Yeah.
We're supposed to do this shit.
Yeah. But yeah, that's lovely. So
by the way, before you move on, Derek, can I just say that I am so happy that I actually legitimately, no bullshit, no cheating, got to list Final Fantasy VI as my game of the year in the year of
cheated.
2023.
You kind of cheated.
No, I didn't. No.
We make the rules, so I mean. So our next game of the year, we're moving over to Jeff. Jeff's game of the year, which should come as no surprise to anyone, I love this so much, was Flight Simulator.
I love you,
2
Jeff.
years running, baby.
Yeah, buddy. But no, but here's the thing. This sounds like a joke, but unlike us giving John all the shit in the world, like Jeff, your passion for Flight Simulator and the joy that it has brought you and the like comfort it has brought you, it brings me light every show that you get a chance to talk about it.
It honestly makes me so fucking happy to hear you talk about it.
I love the stream. I love
Me
watching
too.
your streams.
Yeah, it's
I like
I
hearing
think
your stories too.
on the list I think so like I played it for like since it came out in 2020. But it was like I don't know, I'd kind of come and go from it, and I think on the submission I gave to Finn, it's actually Microsoft Flight Simulator, but with what I've been talking about on the podcast for a few months now with the VATSIM extension, which is basically like an online network of people. And it's like I got to take some of the heat off John because like I don't even know if this can be considered a game, but it's like it changes the game itself because like Microsoft Flight Simulator is the core, right? It's like a sandbox, it's a tool. But the one like for all the realism and stuff in the game, for all the systems that they simulate, for the entire world recreated, it still always felt very empty to me, and that was the one thing I could tell was missing. Like the real world has people in it, has like things moving around, it's dynamic, it's alive, and if you put enough time into it, it does feel very cold because it's creating the whole world at scale. So you have concessions to make. It's not like playing, like a traditional third person AAA game where there's like you're walking through the forest and there's wildlife and there's background sounds and stuff like that. It's very sterile. And this was just the thing that I didn't know was missing, like logging onto there and hearing other people talking in real voices and stuff, same way you would. But it's also just like given me I didn't realize I didn't know how to fly a plane and I didn't know how to actually do anything until I started actually flying on this network and trying to follow procedures and things like that. So it's maybe like a weird role-playing game. It's I don't know how to describe it, but it's just fascinating to me. And yeah, it's such this thing's been around for 20 years and I didn't know it. So it's not as old as the Final Fantasy VI game. But yeah, it's been a blast. And
It's also been very clearly important to you, Jeff, from a mental health standpoint as well. And that's what
yeah,
I think is really neat.
it's I actually like some of the things that people find relaxing, like watching TV or watching a movie or something like that. I find like when it's that passive, my brain can wander. Like if I got something kind of like in there that's
Severe
really bugging me or stressing me
ADHD
out.
sets in.
Yeah, well, I have that too, but yeah, it's like I can be like watching something, but I'm not. They're speaking, but I'm not really like processing what anyone's saying. But games are nice in that way because like they're hands on enough, and I'm engaged with them enough that like it requires a lot of my brain to really focus on what I'm doing, and especially with this. So yeah, and it's a mix, and like once you're up in the air, it's obviously just a nice way to chill out, and it's like a cool just experience to learn. Like I've learned a lot of like even though we joke, I would never actually attempt to fly a real plane, but it's rewarding learning the mechanics of things. It's also rewarding learning a lot of geography. Like I am way better with my landmarks and locations and stuff now. I know a lot about America.
I'm
At this
sorry
point
about
in terms of like no, it's fine.
I got to watch
Geography,
Jeff
I should be
fly out of Standiford Field here in Louisville, so that was very weird to watch him fly over
Jeff, can you
downtown
mention
Louisville.
Jeff,
Yeah.
can you mention real quick for people watching and listening, the air traffic controller stuff that you use, because it's so fucking cool, and it is
Mhm.
one of my
Yeah,
favorite
it's
parts of your streams.
it's cool to hear you say that because I always assume I'm the only one who thinks it's cool. But there's
I think it's
there's
fucking awesome.
there's like 150,000 people active on the network, so it's pretty popular. But I think one of the things I didn't mention is the extension I use, it basically connects people through like a back end voice chat. So basically, you talk over the radio in the game. And then the tool also will you file flight plans, and it'll pull your aircraft information and inject it into the game. So it's also adding in, like Microsoft Flight Simulator does have its own built-in multiplayer, but this is basically replacing that. So you see everyone else, you not only hear them. And the other cool thing is it works across there's a few major different flight simulators, like Microsoft's gets all the attention. X-Plane is also very popular, and so is P3D. I think that one is made by sorry, it's slipped my mind now. It's made by like an actual aircraft manufacturer. But it's cool in that this tool actually brings 3 different games together into one community, and we talk so much about the importance of crossplay and fragmenting and stuff like that. And it's like just really good for the like enthusiasts in general to actually be able to communicate and see other people who are playing a different game. But yeah, on top of that, you're basically just performing real world procedures. You're asking for clearances. There's kind of 2 sides to it. The pilots are obviously flying the planes, and the controllers are working out of real airports and yeah, just providing direction. I think the satisfaction they get is trying to get 50 planes all into the ground at once and giving them the right vectors and stuff to make sure they all get down there safely. But yeah, everyone generally is very polite, and the whole point of it is it's largely just a community of people that are really interested in aviation, and a lot of that extends to the real world. Many of them work for airlines or for manufacturers, and obviously people care a lot about this stuff if they're doing this in their spare time. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to say. I just think it's just something that's fascinating to me. Something I've
It's
never
the
encountered before.
motherfucking boy!
You like
There
my,
he is.
Look at
My
this
mic-
motherfucker right here.
It was like my Mike Daniel cosplay. I went all out. I actually got the fucking.
Look at
I
this
should get-
guy. We already did your game of the year. God damn it.
We'll go
Because
back to
you-
it for a minute. I want to hear him say his piece.
Yeah.
I like opined that I would not get to hear CJ.
One. Okay. First of all, can we all just appreciate that for the first time in a while, we have the entire cast.
It's beautiful.
We have the entire
Oh,
cast.
I gotta go,
right
guys.
here on the podcast.
It's overrated. I met you all in person
He
a
hates us.
couple times.
And real quick, Jeff, I want to tell you that that your stream
Okay,
of
cool.
Flight Simulator are
Oh,
something
good
so whenever I see that you're doing it. No. Wait, what's that?
No, you
froze
stopped.
up.
You said real quick. I just want to tell you your stream, and then you went silent for a minute
okay.
because of a
So-
hiccup. It was
so-
very funny.
Jeff, your streams of Flight Simulator are some of my favorites. Whenever I see that you're going live and streaming Flight Simulator, I stop what I'm doing. I come downstairs, I put my feet up, I turn the lights down, and I just zone out because it is
That's
so
You light a
zen
candle? Shit.
and relaxing.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking great.
Jeff-
and also now that we're all here, my real game of the year is all of you guys.
Aw.
Yeah, because you're fucking playing us. Am I right?
the real game of the year is the
Fuck
friends
you.
we made
And
along
you know
the
what?
way.
Everyone but CJ.
Jeff, you should talk about all the fucking gear that you got this year or last year too.
You made him a
like-
fucking setup.
Yeah,
Oh,
you got
man.
your fucking setup going. Like
Yeah.
There's a-
in the Christmas party, I was like, damn.
Yeah, there's
or
actually
the
a whole-
holiday parties.
there's like a deeper story behind that. I got rudder pedals and then a proper flight yoke, which is like a control column basically, and then a throttle quadrant. But the manufacturer, these are like very
that means, but it sounds impressive.
the manufacturer behind the accessories. They're kind of like they're as good as you can get until you go into like really professional tier stuff where you're paying thousands of dollars for a single one. So these were like a couple hundred, but they're pretty well made. But the company that made them has been kind of like people have been having issues with for a few years, and there's a whole it's like the social network. Like one of the guys got screwed by his business partner, and now their door is closed, and like there's this huge drama behind it. It's hilarious. So if anything ever happens to these, I'm like fucked. But it's good stuff. Yeah, I post pictures from time to time. So if you guys are in the Discord server, I'm sure you'll see them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Justin. Was it? Yeah, Justin said in chat. I know he meant to say Silent Hill, the short message, but it came out as Silent Hill, the short massage.
Well, Blaine did it
Blaine
first.
wrote massage. I was calling her out.
Oh, was it Blaine originally who did
Yeah,
that?
Blaine that wrote it out.
My lawyers have advised me not to follow up on this joke. CJ,
Do it.
buddy, we took a moment to cover.
You put my face up with like the year I was born and the year I died.
Yeah, exactly.
You played.
It wasn't even a picture of you. It was a Peter. It was
Peter
a picture
Griffin.
of Peter Griffin.
Yeah.
Then you put like turn by the birds in the
Right.
background as if yeah.
We pulled and I think you should leave and explained like how you died. Yeah, but no, so we talked about Super Mario Wonder, but like I want to hear in your words, right? We talked about kind of like the magic and like the variety of this game, and the fact that every time a Mario game comes out, like before it comes out, we're all like, oh yeah, that'll be good, and then it comes out and it's fucking immaculate. But But like, what made this your game of the year?
I think it's funny because I beat it like at Thanksgiving, but I never had a chance to like talk about it because either I wasn't on the show or by then I was gonna save it for like a show like this. But it's one of those things where it's like, man, that feeling when you're playing a new Mario game, when you're playing a new 2D Mario game, especially like this is a blessing. This is a sort of thing where people constantly argue about like what makes games art, right? What makes games unique. And in this sort of era where everything's a third person action game, everything's homogenized to hell, everything is so ugly both in and out of like itself. You have something like this that it's just so damn creative, so damn like pitch perfect in the way it plays, so refined. This is the new standard by which like all 2D platformers will be judged, I think, in the coming years. I don't think, what is it, Sonic Superstars launched, and if you guys saw the picture, that was also within my top 5. It launched within the same week, right? And I think everyone thought like a $60 Sonic 2D Sonic game, there's no way, right? Like it'll probably signal the death of like the AAA 2D platformer. Then Mario Wonder comes in and proves everyone wrong. It's like the greatest like the genre will ever be. Is it as good as Tropical Freeze? Is it as good as even like Mario World before it? Probably not.
I said the exact same shit, CJ. The exact same
100
thing.
like they're what Tropical Freeze is probably the greatest Western game ever made, like a game by a Western dev. Like I don't like that's it. And Mario World is like, Mario World is like the Mona Lisa.
Just to like step in real quick, I literally replayed World just a few days ago to talk about Wonder. And so yeah, I'm right there with you.
It comes like damn close. It's like the greatest. Every year, I think last year my game of the year was Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and it's like every so often I'm reminded, oh yeah, there's a reason why I own Switch, right? Whether it was Odyssey in 2017 or Smash Ultimate in 2018 or Tropical Freeze in 2018, there is a new benchmark as to why like I bought a Nintendo console. And Mario Wonder is like that thing. And I don't think we're gonna like Nintendo's gonna top themselves anytime soon.
Probably not.
No, you know what I'm saying?
Unless until we get that 3D Donkey Kong.
3D DK game.
We got the news about that one 3D Donkey Kong from Vicarious Visions that got canceled.
Was it like DK Freedom or some shit?
Oh my god, I just read about
somebody
that.
please
check
in on.
My god, because I love like oh my god.
Yeah,
we
broke him.
Mario Wonder, great game. Like surprising no one.
Yeah.
Derek, who's next?
Next up is, I believe it's Justin's game of the year, which also got some love from a couple other folks. Justin, for his game of the year, picked Alan Wake 2.
Yes. So Alan Wake 2 was, well, it was kind of funny because, like, this year was a wild year for the game industry as a whole, but like game releases were really strong. But for me, there was a lot of stuff that, while being very, very good, there was always just something like, I'm like, I don't know if this is the one. And then I got my hands on Alan Wake 2, and it's one of those very rare things where it just seems like somebody took all of my interests, things that I like, vibes that work for me, and just was like, here, we made this for you. Enjoy it. Like it like I loved how it took Alan Wake into much more of a survival horror setting. I loved how they handled the two protagonist stuff. I loved building up the case board and everything as you go through, because we don't actually have enough like good like actual like detective story games on top of like even aside from all the cool Remedy stuff, but like we don't have any like cool like adult detective games really. And there's just so much about the game that is beyond, like, you have so much more of like a directorial voice in it than a lot of games, and you can tell that because how it mixes music, live action stuff, as well as the gameplay stuff, you can literally see the cast and crew having a blast making this, and like how much of their own heart they put into this project.
So Sam Lake had an illegal amount of fun working on this game. Clearly,
Oh my god!
And the thing is, like, it's full on a survival horror game, but like it also has some incredibly funny moments. I like full on belly laughed at multiple things throughout this game. Like, it was one of those things that
you have to play it to experience it.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
I just want to know the context behind the dance number.
It's literally
I
context.
can't give you context.
Like, the whole point of it is that it doesn't, like, it comes out of nowhere, and it's just
the game kind of like shoehorns you. Like the game literally, it's the most abrupt thing in the world where you just are like, all right, you have to do this.
The thing to understand is that like half of the game,
does Alan Wake like stop in the middle of whatever hellscape he's in? He's like, wait, guys, fellas, hold on. You know what? I gotta dance.
So the thing to understand is that like Alan's half of the story operates on dream logic, right? Saga's story is a like Twin Peaks-esque like detective story, and Alan Wake is stuck in a nightmare dreamscape.
Alan Wake's in the what is it, the Red Room?
Yeah.
And
yeah. So like, but the thing about Alan Wake 2 is it's like it is. I think it's my favorite game to play from Remedy in terms of just the actual gameplay of it. Like they nailed this like survival horror, touch that isn't too action focused, that isn't unwieldy to play. Like it feels good. There's so many ideas jam packed into this game that like you constantly run into something and you're like, this changes the entire game, and they will do that 5 more times.
And I've also never like seen something that has decided to take like a meta narrative angle.
Yes.
Like this one. It's so recursive because like so much of the game is about making this game in particular, not even just making games in general.
Yeah.
Like
it's about writing, it's about art, and it's about itself. It resembles itself. Like
and struggle, because like this is a game that took Remedy a long time to even get greenlit. And
I didn't think it was ever going to happen, to be honest with
you. No,
yeah.
I wouldn't either. And like they got, they got a wonderful deal, publishing deal, that is very rare, in this industry to, actually make it. And you can tell that they just put everything that they had into this game because they didn't know if they were going to get a chance to make another one. They didn't know if they were going to be able to, like. And the thing about this game is, despite everything going on in a lot of creative fields right now, this game inspired me to get back to my own writing. It made me want to create in a way that I haven't felt in a really long time. It made me realize there's an audience for people that think like this and want to see stuff like this. There are people that appreciate this sort of thing. And I don't know, it was just something that felt very adult, very different from the rest of the industry. Even though like kind of, in broad strokes, it doesn't have too much different from what other things are doing, but
it's the soul.
I don't know. It was just brilliant. And I really loved it. And I do also want to say, we did get some sad news afterwards. James McCaffrey, who's well known as voice of Mac Payne. He plays Alex Casey. He voices Alex Casey in Alan Wake 2. He passed away shortly after releasing this,
which presumably will make this his final performance, and it's incredible. It's incredible, and he gets
it's good.
Yeah, he gets such an opportunity to shine because Casey is such a fantastic character. Just like the character writing in the game is phenomenal, right? Its visual aesthetic is phenomenal. Its musical soundscape is phenomenal. Like there's mythic weight behind so much of this game
Yeah, it's not like, okay, you know, we have to have a good soundtrack for this game. It's like, no, the music is going to be a key part of this game. It's going to be important to the narrative. It's going to be important to the characters. It's going to be important in world on top of all that. Like just the weight it gives to that, and even like the live action stuff that they put in, like it merges mediums in a way that we pretty much never see in games.
Yeah.
Beyond what, you know, Remedy has done before, because they've played around with a lot of this stuff before, but it just blew me away. I adored this game. One of my all-time favorites. I cannot stress enough that it's really special, and I'm just glad it exists.
Yeah.
I'm glad it exists for you too, buddy.
Yeah.
It was my runner-up. Can I say something about it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, please.
So I had no interest in Alan Wake 2. I had played the first one on Xbox when it had come out, and it just like never.
Your journey through
You played it
replaying Alan Wake 1 was so funny.
Oh my god!
Right, you played
Oh my
it
God.
immediately after I played it for the first time.
Well,
After
It has not aged well.
texting me, this shit sucks.
That game was janky when it came out.
Yeah. But I had played the original Alan Wake on 360 when it came out because a lot of people were saying good things about it then. And then 2 was announced, and I was just like, it's been too long. I lost my interest. I don't care. But then, like, the closer and closer it started to come out, I was like, for some reason, I was just like, I want to replay Alan Wake, because I think I want to play Alan Wake 2. And so I went through Alan Wake, and that was one of the most painful gaming experiences I've lived through. If anybody wants to go back and play the original Alan Wake, do it on fucking easy. Don't do it on normal.
I did.
Do it on fucking easy.
My first time playing it, Brit, was on easy.
Yeah.
And there are like at least
I was on
3
normal.
moments. There are at least 3 moments where I decided, good writing can't like fucking hold this fucking Luigi's Mansion ass gameplay, and
Yeah.
I can't keep fucking doing this, man. I can't fucking
That's
keep
a
doing
great
this
way to put it.
fucking poltergust ass, attacks.
So I really fucking enjoyed it. It was a scary, scary fucking game. It's so much different than the first. And like, I posted about this on Twitter, but it's like anytime I get scared, I get mad. Like, I used to not play horror games because of my anxiety, but now it's like fight or flight. And I just get mad. Like, if something scares me, I'm like, all right, well, it has to die now. And but yeah, I just really loved that there were so many stories going on in the game that made the game. Like, there's stories inside of like the game itself, and the way that they kind of string that along doesn't make it feel janky or out of place. It just kind of falls together very, very evenly. And I think that it's fucking beautiful. Like, I'm from Washington State, so I literally spent hours on the first chapter with Saga because I was just exploring, and like it made me feel homesick. And yeah, I just really liked it. I liked that they incorporated the old characters more and kind of pushed them forward. I like the constant callbacks to the original Alan Wake. And yeah, it's an overall solid game. If you are afraid of video games, though, of scary games, don't play it.
Brit, I just have to say, like, I'm so disconnected with what people actually find scary.
Oh
like,
my god! Did I remember I texted you, Justin? Do you remember I texted you?
When both of you were messaging me as you were playing it, and I was like biting my tongue because like people have been like, "Was Alan Wake too scary?" I'm like, "No, not at all. You'll be fine."
Jump scare made me cry.
Yeah,
Brent.
like,
I
there's a couple
cried.
jump
I
scares,
teared
but
up.
it's fine.
I teared up.
And then I've talked to like multiple people that are like, this is the scariest fucking thing I've ever played. Like I go through so much horror stuff and work on it. It's like I guess
like I said, I don't.
I cannot give an accurate assessment of any of that stuff.
So it so basically I just liked how it came together, but we can move on.
Yeah. All right, our last
Garrett,
game
who's
of the
next?
year, the overwhelming game of the year from SDGC comes as the top pick from me, Finn, and Britt, and it's Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh.
Baldur's Gate motherfucking 3.
I thought it was
There's
Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
My fucking parlay got fucked up.
I want to start with Finn because Finn has not been on the actual live show a ton over the last year. And you've told us a little bit about your exploits with Baldur's Gate 3, but
Correct.
you know, this is a game that obviously hit hard for a lot of people who did not see this coming. And you've got a lot of history with Larian, and also had the opportunity to interview somebody from Larian not long after Baldur's Gate 3 was first revealed.
And when it first launched, I got to interview Sven, the
oh yeah, that's right,
CEO,
you did.
CEO of Larian.
Yeah.
So, the one that rolled up to the Game Awards in a full suit of armor like a boss.
Love that. But yeah, hit me, man. Baldur's Gate 3, how did it hit you?
So, I made the conscious effort to not play any of the early access stuff. I wanted to wait till the full game launch so that I could just enjoy everything new and not have been like replaying sections over and over again. So, I have 4 concurrent games going on. One just finished with 4 of my friends from back home. I've got a game going on with Saki that we've almost finished. And I've got a game going on with friends of the show, Stormy and Scott White or Professor RPG from RPG Site. And then I've got my solo game. And it's just 4 different playthroughs, all different characters, all different paths, and everything is so much fun. Like solo with friends. Doesn't even matter. I got it on PS5 because that's where one of my best friends has it, and we're gonna do an honor mode run. Like there's never a bad time for more Baldur's Gate. Charisma-based classes are the best. I have not played anything that is not a bard, a paladin, or a warlock.
You're not playing a fighter bard or a bard fighter?
I mean, that's multi-classing, sure, but the base character's always got to be charisma stack.
I see.
So, because that's how I play my games. I got to be able to talk my way out of stuff or talk my way into stuff. It's just fun. You
What
just
I like about
lose
it
so much time.
is you get like it's a different experience every time you play, and like
Every time.
people are always like why would you replay the game? You've played it, and it's like because it has so much value, and like immediately you're thinking of all the different paths that you can take and that what you want to do and people you want to romance, and it's just you dive in. Like so Baldur's Gate, the only reason why I bought Baldur's Gate was for the character creation, and I knew nothing about Baldur's Gate, didn't care about it, made my character, and I was just hooked instantly. I was not expecting to put 150 hours into that game. And
Wait, Jeff killed Halsin?
Yep. Jeff's group
Don't
killed
tell
Halsin.
Dave. Don't tell Dave.
Anyway, I'm sorry, Britt. That was I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just surprised. It was wow.
But yeah, it came out of nowhere for me and out of my radar, and I loved the characters. I loved the voice actors. And I love how passionate you can just tell how much love and care went into the game, and how much passion the creators had for it, and also how much fun. Like we said, like Alan Wake 2 was fun for people. You could tell they fucking had fun making this game.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I love it.
One thing that really stands out to me about Baldur's Gate 3, and I have not finished it, which is part of the reason why it's not on my list, because I really, really liked the game, but I just haven't been able to finish it yet. But the thing that's very interesting about Baldur's Gate 3 is it's almost less of like a traditional RPG that you would expect and more of like an actual like virtual simulation of playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I haven't seen that kind of dedication to recreating like a tabletop game with the sheer amount of options and flexibility ever before. And I think it'll be a long time before we ever do it again. Larian has even said themselves, they're like, our next game is not going to be this size.
Reset your expectations, buds. Yeah.
Like they
say that now, and then Wizards of the Coast is like, hey guys, can you make Neverwinter Nights 3, please?
But no, it's really kind of fascinating because it stands alone in that, on top of the fact that, you know, there's other comparisons and stuff you could make with other RPG series, but I think that alone makes it a really unique experience, even among RPGs.
Yeah. So for me, like, I was doomed, right, from the beginning, because I grew up on the Dungeons and Dragons, like old BioWare CRPGs, right? I grew up on Baldur's Gate. I grew up on Icewind Dale, on Neverwinter Nights, on Planescape Torment, right? Like I played D&D.
Planescape Torment. Yeah.
I was in danger. And I didn't think, because I'd played a little Divinity Original Sin 2, and it didn't land with me. So I was like, okay, well, Larian's gonna do this, but like, you know, we'll see how it turns out. And I think, like just about everybody, you know, I waited to dip my toes in until the game left early access and went full release, and I was astounded, like Britt said, at how much it felt like it just how much I got sucked into this, right? A couple of you said this is what felt like playing a tabletop RPG in video game form. It felt like I was playing D&D, rather than just playing a video game. This was that simulation. It's hard because there's not, like, you fall in love with this incredible. This is the closest thing to a BioWare game I feel like has been made since like Mass Effect 3. And I'm in love with this cast of characters, and there's never enough room in my party. And giving a little voice to like a frustration that Britt has kind of mentioned on here and in chat is like, you know, I did my first run multiplayer with me and my wife, and I had a fantastic time, right? It was a great co-op experience. But the thing is, like, that's 2 player characters, and like that severely limited my time with a cast that I already had such limited time with. So I'm deeply looking forward to doing a second run. There's a mod on PC where you can have everybody at once on your team. Totally breaks the game in terms of difficulty. I don't give a shit, John, because I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. I just want
you not only
to
cheated yourself the game, but you cheated yourself.
I want to spend time with this fantastic cast of characters.
This game is hard as shit, so you can use all the help that you can get.
But and clearly, like, the cast of characters in particular people have connected to these characters in a way that does not happen often enough in games. Look at how much like Asterion, Karlach, Shadowheart especially have really blown up. Halsin, right, has really blown up. I really love Will, and I wish Will had blown up in the same way, and I have some kind of very strong opinions as to why he didn't, but I don't need to get into that here and today. But Baldur's Gate 3 is an oddity. Like, it's too big of a game. It's a game so big we haven't seen anything like it in ages, and we probably won't see anything like it in ages. And one thing could have gone wrong that this wouldn't have worked. But it did, and it connected to people, and people are going to be coming back to it and doing new plays and finding new little things that they didn't know were in there for I mean, years and years and years and years and years, right? How could this not be Game of the Year? All of us have talked about this game so much on SDGC over 2023.
Yeah, it's hard to like
Yeah, I
talk
love
about
it.
it in the sense of like why I loved it, because I talked about it for literal weeks because that's all I was doing was
Yeah.
playing Baldur's Gate.
I was gonna say, like, you especially, like, this game made the back quarter of your year in a lot of ways
Yeah.
when it came to media.
Yeah.
And
It
one other thing that's just also kind of wild, too, is like this is one of those games that it is actually really fun to talk to other people about their experiences with it because it's so
Because you hear about
different.
shit you didn't experience.
It's so different from person to person. Like even just with even like down to character creation, like that can have impacts on how you play the game, and stuff too. And I remember one thing that blew my mind because I hadn't heard anybody talk about it is at one point I did something that caused my paladin to, break his pact. And then you actually get visited by like a character that acknowledges that. And then you have there's quests that you can do to fix it, or you can lean into that. Like that stuff like that is wild. And that's something that only happens with one specific character class if you do certain things.
Well-
They have like an actual NPC made just to deal with that situation. It's wild.
Like, for my character, I picked a tiefling druid. Of course I picked a tiefling. I'm gay. Like,
I picked a tiefling. That was my character.
yeah,
Pink tiefling.
but I picked a tiefling druid,
Tiefling.
and of course, the first situation you run into, like the whole first act, is built around like a druid encampment and tiefling refugees, and the tension between these two groups. How any other combination, I wouldn't have run into this unique like tension that my character was put into, but it was.
And I played as a drow, and like the goblins are part of that too. And so like the relationship between the goblins and the drow came up too. Like it was really cool.
Yeah. But also, like, speaking to how for Finn this has been very much a social experience, right? Like, it's been a way to spend time with multiple groups of friends and his wife. Like, this was a game I got to play with my wife for a long time, that we got to bond over, like, in a way where we just don't play a lot of video games together. My wife just doesn't play that many video games in general, right? She spent more time on Dave the Diver in the last couple weeks than she spent on almost anything else in ages. But like, yeah, probably. But like, we got to sit down.
It is.
I know. We got to sit down on the couch and, do this together, and we fought about it, right? And we like cheered together as shit went our way. And there's a magic to this that, like, kind of whatever you're looking for, you can find it, as long as you are somebody who is not like one of the fucking Philistines that's like, oh, this needed real-time combat. No, go away.
The one thing I will say though that is difficult about this game is it's kind of impenetrable if you're not familiar with D&D.
I don't know. My wife.
I'm not familiar with D&D, and I was able to slip into it just fine.
I don't know.
It actually made me want
am
to
familiar
play a
with-
D&D campaign.
Yeah.
I am familiar with D&D, and it took me a while to get into it. I mean, maybe that was just me then.
Yeah.
But like,
No, I'll back you up, Justin.
It-
Like I'm not not
it
gonna
took me a long time to even figure out I could jump and stuff like that, because the game doesn't tell you certain things.
20 hours in and I don't know how to play it.
It's funny because like my wife, right, is she played a little D&D with us back in like 3.5, and she didn't really get too into it. She didn't understand it very well. She mostly relied on the DM, but she got real into Baldur's Gate and like understood the rules of D&D 5e like much better and got more interested.
Yeah, it's a great visual learner for D&D.
So it was actually really good for me to hear you, Britt, talk so much about that exact subject. Because it was like, oh, this is really, like, your two experiences showed me that, like, this is really, there's easier ways for us to show people the love of D&D, of tabletop gaming. Baldur's Gate 3 was just magical experience, and the stars had to align for it to happen. It's been very frustrating seeing like regular people who don't really understand much about game development use Baldur's Gate 3 as a cudgel against other games and other developers. Like, more games should be this good. Like, but
It's really frustrating because I think that also in some ways kind of limits what they accomplished, because
I can see that. Yeah.
like when you're just like accusing everybody else of not caring, or oh, anybody can do this, they're just not, like it kind of takes away how special something like this is, and it's not celebrating the actual accomplishment that went into it.
yeah, this success is incredible because it was impossible, not because it's something everybody could have achieved.
Yeah. And I think that's also something that, in gaming as a whole, I think people aren't great about, is just acknowledging how great certain elements are of certain games and how it's wild that it happens. I don't know where I was going with that, but go ahead. Sorry.
That's all right. I mean, I think I've waxed poetic about Baldur's Gate long enough. I don't know if any of you have more you want to say before
I've
we get into
I've
it.
simped for it so much that it's like I don't know how to simp for it.
It's powerful,
anymore.
and we got to meet some cool people because of the game too.
We did get to meet
Like,
some cool people.
it's so wonderful. God. All right, so I want to go around to everybody's individual round of picks to talk about the games that weren't our games of the year, but to us were worth bringing up. I want to go to CJ first. Let me get his image up on the screen real quick. And this is gonna be worthless to anybody who's not. There we go. It's up on the screen on the stream. So anyone listening, go fuck yourself, I guess.
A picture of me is from last year when I got my license because I'm young.
CJ, man, why don't you talk about your runner-up and your honorable mentions here for a couple minutes?
So real quick, I was gonna write like an official list at some point. Decided not to. I don't give a shit. These are like the games that I picked out. Like, it's a combination of stuff that I played the most, like I spent the most time with, and also, what I'm saying, like that's what I kind of like factored in, right? If Mario Wonder is like my true game of the year, like then everything else after is this whatever bullshit. So my runner-up is the Crew Motorfest, which I think that's it. I forgot the order. Wonderful racing game. Maybe like I think it's like my PS Wrapped, like it's like my third or fourth most played game this year. Part of it was because I reviewed it, but also I really liked it. Wonderful racing game. Maybe the greatest thing Ubisoft's done pre Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Just a great competitive stuff like Forza. Liked it a lot. The only way I could ever fit into a Miata in the game. And my honorable mentions are I believe it's Mario RPG, a game I haven't finished, so I feel bad putting it on this list, but man, what a wonderful funny experience. Can't believe I never got around to playing this game before. Absolutely loved it. As like a fan of Thousand Year Door, I'm glad I kind of saw like the roots of like that series, that sort of humor. There's just that one toad at in the first town you're at who's like an asshole to you, about like not bringing his bazooka. I hate the funniest fucking thing in the entire world. I love the toads in this game. I like that everyone's an asshole. I like that everyone is just like so funny. I love it. Weird that Mario doesn't ever speak. I hate not hearing him go woohoo or whatever whenever he's like running. It creeps me out. But I love it. Sonic Superstars. The greatest 2D Sonic since Mania. I loved it. I absolutely love this game. I am its like its most diehard shooter.
It's funny because my only experience with that game is at the charity fest, where Derek immediately refunded.
I had to refund it because it kept crashing on us. Like,
hey, if you guys go on
the
Metacritic,
PC port didn't even work.
If you go on Metacritic, I think I'm the highest rate. I think I gave the game the highest rating, like possible. I think I gave it. It's just at a 90, like on Game Critics. When
CJ's the Armand White of gaming journalism.
Oh, shut up!
Oh my god!
Shut up!
That's a joke for exactly 12 people.
Great game though. Absolutely wonderful. Harkens back to everything I love. I love about the series. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Sonic is good. I cannot wait for that Sonic Cross Shadow non-Yaoi Generations remaster. And then of course, my least favorite game of the year and maybe the greatest game of the year, NBA 2K24. Oh my god, my hair went gray this year. I a 19-year-old rookie joined the LA Clippers. First year was pretty bad. Made it to the play-in. We lost to the Pelicans. In no way is that ever gonna happen in real life. Second year, yeah, fuck the Pelicans. Second year, first seed in the West, number 2 overall in the entire league. I am the greatest basketball player in the world. 100%, 70, like 50 points a game. I love it. Absolutely love it. I'm living out my dream of being 6'5", being able to shoot from the 3, being able to dunk, and having the voice of a light-skinned black man. Wonderful, wonderful gaming experience. While all of you were having sex with demons or, slaying dragons or whatever it is your old bullshit was doing, I live my dream of being an NBA player, getting that Ruffles endorsement. It is the NBA 2K24, maybe the greatest $100 I ever spent. All right, that's it.
All right. John, I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna do this in the order we talked about games of the year. So that means that John is up next. John, bud.
Go ahead and pass.
Yeah. Don't worry about this dickhead in chat. Doesn't matter. John.
I gotta go do something.
Okay. All right. We're not gonna do John. We're gonna skip him. We're gonna come back to him.
We'll talk about Power World.
Don't you dare.
Why would you put that in our
right? Which means next, we're gonna talk about Jeff's picks.
Oh man.
That's okay. We went from one person who was going to bring up Final Fantasy 16 to another person who was going to bring up Final Fantasy 16. Actually, you got two Final Fantasies. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want to diminish my games. These are all good games. I think last year was one of the first years where there wasn't a game that really kind of took over me other than Flight Simulator, obviously. So they're all very, very good, but they're just not the ones that really kept me up at night, thinking about wanting to get back to them. So I just say that to acknowledge that they all have some minor issues, but yeah, I really enjoyed them. And 16, I think, was definitely the standout. That was a game that I just went into. I didn't pay any attention to the pre-release. I was fortunate enough not to have to cover it for the podcast or as a job. I was just able to experience it on my own terms. It is also the only time my wife has ever watched me play a game. She doesn't really play games, so that was a very interesting and cool experience, and sometimes exhausting experience because I'd have to anytime a major story thing happened, I'd have to use the record feature on the PS5 to capture the last 30 minutes. Then I'd have to edit it down to the part that she'd want to watch, and then I'd have to play it back for her. I did that for the first 10 or 15 hours, and then she's just okay, why don't you just wait until I'm here and then you could play it. So that's why it took me a couple months to finish it. But no, the game was just, I think, really fantastic. It was one of I like parts of 15. I love the first half of that game. I hate the second half, and overall I'm pretty negative on it. 13 I couldn't really get into. 12's good, 10's good, but this was in a long time, one of the first times where I felt a Final Fantasy game was very cohesive and just had a really strong united vision for what it wanted to be and how it wanted to play. And I get why some people might not like certain elements of that, but at least to me, it all felt very consistent. And it made it easy to enjoy. And the story, especially the performances, were just phenomenal. And that's the main reason I play Final Fantasy games for. I play for the characters and the story. And I was going through Derek's Best Boys poll on his forum there, trying to cast my votes for 16. And it was hard. I actually didn't pick Clive. I'm sorry. I left Clive out in favor. I could only pick 5, and Gav was great. Obviously, to me the greatest Cid in any Final Fantasy game in this one. But yeah, just the gameplay was fine. I'm not someone who's big on combat and stuff like that. So to me, if it's accessible, if there's an easy mode, if I can get through it and not need to be an expert and not to need to have the reflexes of
those fucking rings. Those rings. Oh my god.
All of them. I wish I could have equipped 8 of them because I was having to pick between the one that automatically parries or
the auto parry is the greatest thing in the world for someone like me who sucks at any action game. Oh my god.
So yeah, it was really, really good. The only minor gripes I had were just there was a couple weird omissions to me, things that I really like in Final Fantasy games where it was weird that there was no dungeons, no optional.
That's kind of unusual,
dungeons.
Right? Yeah.
And I didn't play the new game plus. I looked up to see what it was, and they're just not in there. And even 15, again, for all my issues I have with it, it's got a lot of you'll find like a hidden cave somewhere, and it's like this crazy 5-hour dungeon with like some really cool encounters and stuff. And kind of weird that that wasn't in this one, but I mean, maybe it got planned and got cut. So yes, just some minor stuff there that like could have really elevated to like a top tier, but it was still really really enjoyable, and it's in my top list for Final Fantasy games. And then following up on that real quick, I guess just some honorable mentions: the Final Fantasy 3 Pixel remaster. In defense of John, I'd never played any of the pre-7 Final Fantasy games until this year. Played 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, all that stuff. But yes, I actually played 4 before 3. I was not planning to touch 3 because I know 1, 2, and 3, they're like, I understand they have a story and they have characters, but like 4 was the first time the series really got like cinematic and ambitious with how it told the narrative. So I didn't think I'd be interested in 3. So I played 4 first and had a good time with it. And then I was like, you know what? I'll go back to 3. It's like 10 hours long. And like, I think I enjoyed this more than 4, honestly. And 4 was good, but there was something about the story of 3 that felt very grand, and like, you don't get to know the characters as much because it's very much like you meet these 2 characters in this one town, and then an hour later you're gone and off to the next town. But like the vibe of it was just this like world hopping, huge stakes, and there's a lot of stuff that like Britt talked about it, how 14 recently has pulled a lot from 4. Prior to that, probably one of the biggest adaptations was the stuff they pulled from 3. The Crystal Tower, Emperor Zandi, that shit all came from 3. So it was like really cool to relive like the origin of that. And then again, of course, like the great music. But yeah, it was just like a pleasant experience and a really nice short fantasy romp. So completely unexpected, but really enjoyed it. My next one was Season, A Letter to the Future, and this is a small indie game made by Canadian studio, I think, called Scavenger Studio, and I can't talk about it without just being aware and acknowledging. Unfortunately, I think shortly before it came out, our good friend Rebecca Valentine wrote a story about major toxic abuse and harassment from the creative director at the studio. You can go read the story. I think it was back on when she was at gamesindustry.biz. So it's very unfortunate that was the price that a lot of people paid for this, but I think the majority of the staff worked really hard on it. The end result was, in my opinion, a fantastic game. It's a short, maybe 6 to 8 hours. Basically, the premise is you're a young woman who's leaving her town for the first time. It's a genre I'm like kind of finding out exists, where it's like, find out what happened to the world. Like you're just in a place. It doesn't really give you much specifics on where you are, what's happened in this world. The season in the title basically comes from the fact that the world goes through these different seasons, and at the end of each season, there's some kind of cataclysmic event, and everyone loses their memories. So everyone in this season has no idea really what the world was like before them. And the end of the season is coming, and they know the world's going to end. So this woman has set out from her village to basically document the world, in the hopes that the people who come after will be able to appreciate and kind of understand what happened and record their stories and the things that happened to them. So you're basically just biking around. You get a bike, and it's such a relaxing way to explore the world, just coasting around on it. And you can stop and get off. So like the gameplay loop is like you're biking, you bike to different areas, little villages, towns, maybe even just a house, and you meet 1 or 2 people there, and they kind of tell you their stories, and you're just piecing together the world. You can take photos. So if you enjoy taking pictures in games or screenshots, there's nice ways to frame them. And then at the end of it, you have a scrapbook throughout the game. So you can take all your photos, you can put them into there. You unlock little stickers and things. And as you go through and explore the world, the pages you go through tell the stories of these different areas. And by the time you get to the end, you get like a pretty nice picture, but there's still enough ambiguity. Because I always like not having everything spelled out for me. You can kind of fill in the gaps with your own imagination, and there's a little bit room for interpretation there. So just a huge surprise, really delightful little game, and I highly recommend it to anyone who thinks they might enjoy something like this. And my last one, which I'm confident I'm the only one in the world who picked this, but I'm always been a Star Wars fan, but recently in the last few years a big Trekkie now too.
Oh yeah, brother.
Yeah, so Star Trek Resurgence is a game made by Dramatic Labs. They're basically made up of a large amount, I think at least 20 plus former Telltale developers. This is the old Telltale, not the new Telltale. So after that shut down, this is where I think the bulk of them ended up. And so it's basically exactly what you expect. If you don't like Telltale games, you're not going to like this one. It is a Telltale-ass game, bugs and weird shit and all. But you know what? I'll give them a pass because I think it was probably made on a modest budget in a short amount of time. But it's a great, if you like Telltale games, the best thing about it is it really captures what's great about Star Trek and putting you in the role of these characters. There's 2 playable characters. And if you're, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who's not a fan of the series, but if you are, all the like situations that are really interesting, the diplomatic stuff, negotiating with different races, being like in control of the bridge of a starship and having to make those like split-second decisions. It's all done really well, and like overall, just the writing is really strong. The characters are really endearing. There's some really great little cameos and Easter eggs and stuff like that. There's a fake Spock in it. Rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy. But whoever performed this one is like really, he does a really good job, and I think it's really cool to see that in here. And then Jonathan Frakes, who seems like he'll show up in anything Star Trek, but he's in it, and it's a nice treat as well. So I just really enjoyed, and it ties into the canon of some specific episodes from the Next Generation, and it was just a surprise. I didn't expect this one either. I hadn't even heard of it till like a month before it came out. I don't know if it sold very well, but if you're in that really small Venn diagram overlap of liking Star Trek and liking Telltale games, I think you have to play it. So that's those are my picks for last year.
All right. Well, if we are going in the earlier proposed order, the next up for Game of the Year follow-ups would be Justin. Justin,
Okay.
why don't you talk about your non-Game of the Year picks?
Okay. So kind of for me, how things always go is usually when I'm trying to organize an end of year list, there's usually like a 1 and a 2, and then kind of everything else that I think is cool. So there's a lot of stuff that was competing for slots, but my number 2 this year was Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon from Software. And I was very caught off guard by how much I enjoyed this game. I'd played some Armored Core back in the day, and I really like, and it was kind of impenetrable, but it was one of those things that like my friends and I would just like rent on the weekend, and we build our mechs and then die very quickly trying to like actually get them working. But Armored Core 6 clicked for me in a way that few games do, and kind of scratched an itch that I didn't really know that I had. I had so much fun customizing and strategizing in that game, and I remember, finding out, there's multiple endings, and, to get the true ending, you have to beat it like 3 times. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do that down the line.
Near Automata? Like, what the hell?
It actually kind of is with the way everything plays out. Like it's very different on that 3rd playthrough. But I remember just like, and I'm like, maybe I'll do that eventually. Like as I was like halfway through my first playthrough, and then a week later I had done all 3 playthroughs. I just couldn't stop playing it. It was just an amazing pure like gameplay connection that I had with this game. Nothing else is like it. I mean, it's just a totally unique game. And it was really cool to see FromSoft revisit one of their classic series that really didn't actually be like, hey, we're gonna make it like Souls. It's very much an Armored Core game, and I think that's really cool. So like longtime fans can enjoy it. There's a number of things that does make it more approachable for people that are new to the series. But yeah, I had a blast with it. I really love that game. Let's see, my other runners up. Dredge. Dredge is a really cool little indie game where you play as a fisherman, and you wander around catching fish, and there's also some Lovecraftian horrors out there. And Dredge is just super cool. I loved. So this is something that I've kind of found that I really liked, trying to find lately, but trying to find like lighter horror things that I can use as like recommendations for people that are maybe new to the genre and maybe, obviously can't take, some of the high impact stuff. And Dredge is really cool because it gets all the vibes right. But like the core game is actually pretty relaxing. Honestly, it's a fishing game. You're upgrading your boat, catching fish.
I was gonna say it took me aback when I found out it was a horror game because I was like, oh, this looks like a Jeff game, and then I was
Yeah.
like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, as it goes on, there's more and more stuff, but like it's really unique. Again, it's just a really unique game. Just great vibes. I really enjoyed Dredge. It kind of came out of nowhere for me. I literally had not heard about it before it released. And then picked it up on a whim after a couple recommendations, and fell in love with it. I finished that game in 2 sittings. Like I don't do that very often. Let's see. What are the other ones on my list? I'm sorry, I can't see.
Your honorable mentions were Dredge, Hi-Fi Rush, and Spider-Man 2.
Okay, Spider-Man 2. Big fan of Spider-Man 2018. I really like Insomniac's take on Spider-Man. And
You're the first one of us to fucking play it because you left the charity stream early. We all saw you. I got the PSN notification that you were online.
Hey, one, I had to be back at work the next day, and 2, you all knew that was going to happen. I told you, right? I told you to look for that. But
Also know that it's a CPAP bag on the plane, but it's the PS5 in there.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2.
But yeah, I really like Insomniac's take on the characters in this world. It's one that has connected with kind of the core of a lot of these characters and what I find so compelling about them in a way that not many Spider-Man projects have in quite a while, from comics to movies or anything. It really filled in a gap that I think has been sorely needed in Spider-Man stories. And so I've been I don't want to talk too much about it. But yeah, Spider-Man 2 is just very good all around. It's, very much cut from the same cloth of Spider-Man 2018, just ramped up. But I ended up enjoying it more than I was expecting to, even as a fan of the first game. And the last one, I actually haven't gotten a chance to talk about any of this, but I did get an Xbox because they had... Dude, it was actually funny when I tried to buy it. I got a fraud alert thing, and they canceled my order.
That was what's his name?
So funny, dude.
Jim Ryan on it.
It was Jim Ryan.
Yeah,
you got shooters everywhere.
Yeah, but the combination of the huge sales and some gift cards I got for Christmas, I was able to get a Series X for basically the cost of a game, and then I paid $1 for Game Pass and for the trial, and then I played Hi-Fi Rush as the first game I played, and I loved it. It's super fresh while also feeling back like a throwback to an era of games that we don't get. Like, this feels like something I would have rented on the GameCube when I was in high school. It's just expertly executed cell shading art style. I loved how it combines the music rhythm stuff with typical like hack and slash and platforming stuff, while also not making it impenetrable. Because there's a couple things like Crypt of the Necrodancer and stuff I've played, trying to sync up with the music in that is a bit difficult for me, and kind of obtuse. But Hi-Fi Rush does a great job of easing you in. Like, it does kind of take a while for it to get going, because it is just slowly adding stuff. But like the second half of the game, and especially those last few levels, are some of the most memorable and fun that I've played in a long time. Just great music. The humor is spot on. It made me laugh quite a bit, way more than I was expecting to. And the boss fights are great. Hi-Fi Rush was just a really joyous, pleasant game. And it was really cool also to see Tango get outside of their usual. They worked on Evil Within. They did Ghostwire Tokyo. This is very different from them from presentation and and gameplay design standpoint. And I had a lot of fun with it. It really. I'm glad that I had time to get to it before we talked. Before we talked about all of our final picks on the show, because
Hi-Fi Rush was phenomenal.
Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush is extremely, extremely good. And I highly recommend people check it out, especially if you are somebody that kind of misses how game releases used to be in a way, and like I don't know, it doesn't feel dated, but it feels like a throwback. So Yeah, check out Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah. All right, John, do you feel capable of going?
No, we're almost done. It's fine.
Okay. Well, we're not quite almost done. We got at least 3 of us to go. Well, I'm gonna move on to let's do Brit. Brit, why don't you tell us about your other games that weren't Baldur's Gate?
Well, I kind of already talked about Alan Wake. Really loved it. Great game, great puzzles. The whole time I was getting ready, I was listening to Herald of Darkness just to get me in the mood. But yeah, it's just there's so many like good musical numbers in that game. Like between that and Audie, like there's just so much good. Fucking love me some Audie. I didn't talk about him. And I didn't talk about. He's so good. Like, you know, I played Control, so I knew who he was. So when he was there, I got super fucking excited. And Zach was like, "Why are you so obsessed with this janitor?" And I was like, "Well, he's in Control, and he helps you, and he's your buddy.
He's a perfect boy, perfect
right?"
man.
Zach and I played it together. He's actually playing it right now on the harder difficulty to get the like true ending or whatever ending.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It's one of the first few games that I've played and that he watched. And that's why it took me so long to beat it. Like I just beat it a couple of days ago. Because, you know, we had to be together and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I loved it. I also love Slay the Princess. That was a game we got a code. Like I had initially had interest in it and then I completely forgot about it. And then we got a code for it and Finn asked if anybody wanted to do it. And I said, I'll do it because I remember it. And it ended up being such a phenomenal game for something that looks almost like a draft. It doesn't look terrible, but just the way everything is drawn, it's just really cool, and the dialogue options and choices that you get in it.
It was a very good game.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like Alan Wake in the fact that it's very meta, and yeah, and you basically go like the entire game switching your opinion on who you think is the bad guy. Like you just don't know. And I think that's really interesting to do.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I gotta drop that asshole in chat. And just kind of killed it for me.
Yeah.
So
I figured
don't want
on
to.
you.
I'm gonna bring the party down if I stay any further. So I don't want to do that.
Okay. All right. Well,
Bye, John.
we got this. Night, John.
Hi guys.
All right.
You want to throw his games up there so people.
I'll do that at
Britt's
the end.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. Britt, you got a couple more.
Oh yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, talk about your honorable mentions. Yeah.
Was Slay the Princess not on yours?
It is, but
oh, okay.
You know, it's on
honorable
yours.
Mentions, I did A Space for the Unbound, one that I actually asked Finn if he could get a code for me because I just thought it looked really good. I thought it had great representation. I loved the Scott Pilgrim pixel vibes that were in there, and it was just a fun little side scroller. Again, there seems to be a common theme with me in video games. Like I like games where you're figuring out like what's happening. Like obviously you do anyway, but it's like you're figuring out what's going on as you play through. It's a really fun game, and it has like different sections in it, like where you can, to me, you have like a court session, and it just really reminded me of like Phoenix Wright. You know, you collect things, you fade in and out of reality, and just like, you know, you keep making a loop. And yeah, it's really fun, really interesting. I recommend it 100%. But yeah, and then Final Fantasy IV Pixel Remaster was my last honorable mention because, like I said earlier, I started playing it because I wanted to experience for myself while going through the Final Fantasy IV story in 14. And it's a really good, like, I was surprised at how much I loved it and how much I wanted to keep playing it. Because usually, like, those games are so, they're rough to go back to sometimes, you know? But
For
that
sure.
that didn't kill it for me whatsoever, but they had a lot of quality of life upgrades. I would not have enjoyed it as much if I didn't have my experience Gold or Gil and what was the other, the speed and turning the battles on and off. Oh my god.
So I'm excited to start these. Play like a fucking modern game.
I don't know how you got through the final boss, Brit, but for me, I had to go buy like 20 elixirs from the Loporrits on the moon. And like, if I didn't have the 4 times money boost, I would not have been able to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Quick question: are you like Jet? Like, did you not play any of the pre-7 ones before?
Yeah. So I tried playing 6 like back in 2019, and I got halfway through, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. And I think I'll really enjoy it now with those quality of life improvements. Just because like those games are hard. Like when we used to game back in the day, we had like a lot of time to sink into exploring, and
It was the only thing you had to play. Like you had to.
like it was the only thing, and it was the best. And it's like now that we've moved past and gone beyond
JRPGs
that,
from 30 years ago and adults from today do not mix. Like,
yeah.
those two
y'all are
lives are not compatible with each other.
So I think I'll really enjoy it if I go back and play it now with the quality of life upgrades. But yeah, at the time, it's hard. Those games are hard.
Yeah.
Like old school JRPGs are rough. But yeah, that's mine. That's my stuff.
All right. Well, next up, I want to toss it to my good buddy Finn.
No. You know what? I'm not gonna let that fucking asshole ruin my night.
Cool. I really wish we. Yeah. Finn. Why don't we talk a bit?
No. Let's capitalize on it. He's back. John, take your turn.
Get him while he's here.
Get him while it's hot.
No. I'm not gonna let that fucking.
It would have
dickhead
been. It
ruin
would have
my night.
actually made my night if we didn't allow one dipshit's message that was on screen for 3 seconds to alter our Game of the Year show. But it's a little too late to act like that didn't happen, like I might have preferred. So, John, please talk about your runner-up and your honorable mentions for Game of the Year.
Fuck that clown. Wait, what was my honorable mentions?
Your runner-up was
16.
FF16.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
What the fuck is the Final Fantasy game on your list, John?
All right, so my runner-up for 2023 was Final Fantasy 16. And a lot of people expect this to be my game of the year, honestly. And in any year where Final Fantasy 6 Pixel Remaster didn't exist, it absolutely would have been.
I was shocked.
Which hasn't been the case for 30 years.
That's okay, because it's like you can't like the re-release of the game that you've already get that you can't.
We
There's
did
no
that.
way. That's
We did
cheating.
No.
I was
that is
shocked
cheating.
until I wasn't.
No, you know what? Derek said himself. We make the rules. We make our own rules here.
Fucking
So
my PS2 copy of Pro Skater 3 is actually my game of the year. Fuck you, John.
No.
Hey,
TJ,
you, John.
TJ,
No.
check this shit out. TJ, was Final Fantasy 6 Pixel Remaster a game that released on the Nintendo Switch in 2023?
All right, get
Hey
out of here.
bro, fucking
I'm just saying,
sex with
did it
my
have a
wife
bunch of new
is game of
features
the
that the
year
original game didn't have?
2023.
Is it a new release? Was it a new release? Was it a new release
Yeah.
in 2023?
Oh my god, John, just talk about
Yes,
fucking
it
Final
was.
Fantasy already. I'm tired of the series.
Final Fantasy 6. So look, there was
You
a lot
almost
of
deprived
really,
us of this, John.
look. That asshole in chat almost deprived you of it. I overcame adversity.
Proud of you, bud.
Final Fantasy 16 encouraged a lot of robust discussion and debate among a lot of people.
That's a very polite
and I
way to
will
put
say-
it.
And I will say that there are absolutely things that I think 16 probably could have done better. Or definitely could have handled Benedicta better. She deserved a lot more screen time than she got.
The women in general in that game deserve better.
I mean, I
But-
really like Jill. I do think that Jill. I would have loved to have seen Jill be playable at a few parts. But I also get that it's Clive's story. But and Mid, of course, is a fucking delight. I just wish.
Yeah,
they
besides
introduced
Mid
her sooner.
loved her.
But Final Fantasy 16 gave me that same feeling that Final Fantasy 6 did. And no, not because they both have 6 in the fucking title.
But it didn't hurt.
Oh, they
It
do.
didn't hurt. It didn't hurt. But Final Fantasy 16, for all of its action JRPG-ishness, felt at its heart like an older Final Fantasy game. You know, I mean, it was a group of people in a medieval setting on their way to kill God, right? You know, I thought it was everything I wanted it to be. I was super stoked about this game, and it delivered some of the most, like, it God of War'd better than God of War did. You know,
God,
like
these boss fights, man. Oh my
fights
God.
like Titan and Bahamut and Garuda and Ultima were
I
some of
definitely
the.
think those are the best like battles we've had in a Final Fantasy.
What was the
game.
Yeah.
one button, the prompt? What was
Even
it that
14,
came up?
Oh, the
like,
Accept-
fucking accept the truth.
Oh my,
Yeah.
the truth. Yeah.
Oh my, because guys,
So
Ricky,
high.
New best button prompt ever.
I played it like a week before you guys. I couldn't talk about that shit. It was like a random Saturday afternoon. I'm like, what?
Way better than press F to pay respects.
Oh my God! Because like what? Jedi Survivor had the exact same thing for some other stupid ass prompt. This was way better. It's the hypest shit in the entire world. Oh my God!
Yeah. What? Yeah. Like when you're like, you know, I am Afreed, and you press L3 and R3 to accept the truth. Like, it was hype as shit.
Spoiler.
Fucking monologues
was
you
just
have as a fucking
fucking
like,
nerds. Get out of
Plus,
here.
I'm sorry, but it had, in my opinion, the best voice acting performance we've seen in
Oh,
20,
absolutely.
like the only thing that's on the same level, in my opinion, was Samantha Bayard in Baldur's Gate 3. But Ben Starr just fucking put his heart and soul into Clive, and it was
Put his fucking
Final Fantasy
pussy in this
16
game.
gave us
His
Ben
father
Starr, and
died.
that's worth it.
right.
Can I
Well,
actually?
his father died while he was recording the voice lines for Clive, and he was talking about this, and he was very close to his dad, and so this was a very personal recording for him. I you know, Torgal and fucking Sid, the best fucking Sid in the entire franchise.
my
I think we can all
God.
agree on that.
Oof.
Two of the
Um,
best Sids in the
like-
franchise.
I mean, Clive is the Sid too, but I mean, Sid Telemon as voiced by Ralph Ineson is just like
Perfection. Absolutely.
I'm straight, and I'm straight, and I got a crush on Sid. Like Sid is fucking smoldering.
Even his theme
Like-
is like one of my favorite pieces.
Yes,
of music from the
me
game.
too.
Yeah.
I actually set my home little
Yeah.
town to that.
I get
Yeah.
chills every time I hear it.
Yeah, it was just a and it was just an absolute masterclass of a game for me, and finally a game that tied Final Fantasy VI as my favorite game of all time. Final Fantasy 16 is my favorite game of all time, along with Final Fantasy VI, and that's the highest praise I could possibly give it. I'll go through my runners up real
Can I
quick.
say something super quickly, about 16? All right.
Yeah. Yes.
You saw it here, guys. John silenced the minority on a podcast. No, look, real quick. So it was like only the second Final Fantasy game I played, like with the title Final Fantasy, if you count Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. This is the only second one I played to completion, right? Because I played through 10 like a while back. Obviously my experience is a lot different than you guys, because I had to like the work I had to put in just to fucking play this game like almost killed me.
Thank you for your sacrifice.
Yeah, fuck Final Fantasy, fuck Square Enix. Anyway, but I've kind of like not soured, but I kind of cooled down a bit on my praise of the game. I before today I went back and I read my review, and what a truly great introduction to this series, right? It being my second game, technically my first, because 10 is still like it was a much older game when I first played it. What everything, right? It feels like this like reboot of sorts, right? The same way that 7 kind of came in like back in '97 to kind of like
It feels like a
change,
new start for the franchise,
which
yeah.
is weird, right? Because like who knew that the new start was just going back to medieval stuff, right? Like cutting, like exactly, like if, you know, everything exceptional. It's probably the greatest character action game of this gen. I re-downloaded 7. 100%
No,
of this
he's
gen.
right, Derek. He's
Of
right.
this gen,
He's right.
I don't think post
Devil May Cry
post
5
DMC
doesn't count. Yeah, it's a previous gen
look,
game.
post-
Yeah.
Better than Devil May
post
Cry
DMC
5.
I played it.
No. Okay, but like post DMC 5, maybe the greatest combat like in any like action game ever. Like this is so goddamn good. This is the closest thing. Look, we all I joke the PS5 has no games, but this is like the closest thing to like make me like feel like, oh,
Like
this
a
was
killer
worth
app.
it. Like it is. This was worth the $500 for this 4K player that I bought. Like 100%.
I want to touch real quick on something Jeff said. Jeff, you were right in saying that there was no optional dungeon, but that's kind of changed with the Echoes of the Fallen DLC. If you haven't played it,
If the DLC is not on your list, it doesn't count, John.
no, I'm just saying. I know. I'm just saying it's
Okay.
great. Like it's a whole ass dungeon. It's really fucking great. My runners up. I'll get through these real quick. Star Ocean 2, Second Story R, fucking beautiful remake of a definitive PS1 era JRPG. Go play it. It's fucking awesome. It's aged incredibly well and it's gorgeous. Super Mario RPG remake. Just still to this day, Super Mario RPG is one of my favorite games of all time, and this does not change that. Just an absolute fucking delight to play. And under 20, you can finish this game in under 20 hours. I mean, it's a nice, breezy, joyful experience.
Forgot my bazooka.
It's so fucking great. And Resident Evil, get your bazooka. And Resident Evil 4 remake, which is an incredible remake of one of the most important games ever made. So I will stand by that and say that Resident Evil 4 is probably the most important character action game ever made. And this is a flawless remake of that. So yeah.
All right. Well, I already put his graphic up on screen once, but we'll go back to him.
Do it
Finn,
again.
Bud.
If our viewers didn't memorize it by now,
We
they're not-
spoiled everything. Finn.
It's such a pretty graphic. Who cares?
It is a pretty
Fine.
graphic. I want to thank
Finn tried a bit too hard on his own. I think he kind of slacked off
Yeah.
on like all the other ones.
I want to thank Finn for making these wonderful graphics for everybody. All everyone had to do was name some fucking games, and Finn did the hard work on all the graphics. So
I want to thank everyone but CJ for providing.
No,
me
fuck
photos.
Finn because
Oh
no,
my
hold on.
God.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But fuck Finn for getting a picture of the Rockets are fucking dunking on the clip. Fuck you. Oh my god, my poor
You know how
Clippers.
hard I had to try to find that specific photo to use for your game. Oh, that's what friends do. All right. So, we already talked about Baldur's Gate. My runner-up is a Ghost Runner 2, follow-up to the other amazing action platformer Ghost Runner 1. Like, this is one of those games where I've played lots of really high-intensity, difficult platforming games like Celeste or even Metrovanias that require precision platforming to get all the secrets like Hollow Knight and even the new Prince of Persia game. But this is the first time I've played one fully in 3D that makes you feel so incredibly badass and accomplished for completing a section. And it does what these games need to do. When you die, you're back in the game with a button press. There's no load. It helps with that mentality of just one more time, like, oh, that fucking guy got me, but now I know what to do next time, or oh, I just missed that jump. And when it all strings together into one sequence where you complete it properly, like there's just no better feeling than that. And Ghost Runner 2 added the bike, and the open world bike sections were also just really cool. And everything about this just makes me really hope that it did well enough for Ghost Runner 3, because right now Ghost Runner 1 and 2 are probably my most beloved, underrated hidden gems in video games right now. They're just so good. And the cyberpunk backdrop doesn't really hurt it at all. It's just, it's so good.
you
Damn it.
convinced me to play Ghost Runner 1 and 2 in the aftermath of you and Busted recording your review. So
I love it so much. Oh, it's so fucking good. Honorable mentions: Final Fantasy 16. What can be said that hasn't already been said multiple times? Except for the fact that the battle system is, I love the Devil May Cry influence. There's a lot I love that I hope gets, and a lot that I hope gets tweaked or added in an inevitable Final Fantasy 17. Like, I want them to build on what 16 brought to the table while also bringing back certain RPG elements that were lost along the way. I'm sure that they'll find a way to do it. Who knows? But 16 was incredible, and I loved my time with it. Sea of Stars is just one of those games that came out that I've been dying for a long time. I love the company. I've been hyped for the launch, and when it came out, it was just so charming and in depth, and so much attention to detail, and so fun. Story was just delightful. The characters, the battle system, the everything about it was just the pseudo love letter to Chrono Trigger that has only ever been matched by like Chained Echoes. It's just good times. I was very thrilled to hear that it was a big success. And then my number 5 game of the year was Spider-Man 2. Like Bustin said, I was a huge fan of Spider-Man 1. I think Spider-Man 2 is the better game than 1, but I think it suffered. The reason it's not like in my top 2 like Spider-Man 1 was is because it felt like we'd already done a lot of it. It was just a refined, improved iteration.
You could only swing through New York so many times before you're like, man, I've swung through New York.
Actually, no, that actually never gets old, especially because Spider-Man 2 adds the wing gliders, the web gliders.
Well, I'm just generalizing.
Absolute
Like,
game changer. Game changer. No, it feels weird because when I list all the things Spider-Man 2 added and does well, like it's just, I loved switching seamlessly from Miles to Peter, because if there's anything the Miles Morales expansion showed me is that he's way better and more fun to play as than Peter. The Venom stuff was really cool. I liked where they went with the story. Once again, they kind of played with expectations like they did in the first one. The way that they did Otto's story in 1 subverted a lot of expectations. They did a lot of good stuff with 2. I think they've set up a lot for part 3 that is going to be just solid.
Ben, can I jump in real quick? I just
Sure.
I want to see if you feel the same way about something. I loved Spider-Man 2. The only thing that kind of I was like, I'm not feeling it, is like they killed off half of Spidey's rogues gallery. It seems like I just thought that was a weird choice.
I mean, maybe from like a gameplay standpoint,
So disrespectful.
It
They're killing off
eliminates them
these
from
iconic.
Yeah. Oh, what
They're
happened?
urinating on these characters.
They're urinating on them.
Oh my God.
What?
So
Shut the fuck up.
that's a good joke. Fuck you. But I mean, I think it added stakes to it and kind of made this feel like its own corner of the Spider-Verse. So in that regard, I kind of was for it. But yeah, it does kind of suck that like
We're not going to see any of those characters again.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Craven,
Exactly. So, but you know what? Good thing that there's still a gajillion C and B list Spidey villains to bring to the table. So I won't rest until we get White Rabbit in the game. Damn it!
Stiltman, or go the fuck.
I need
Stiltman
Big Wheel.
or
I need a
Bus.
Big
Big
Wheel
Wheel,
opening
baby.
sequence in 3. If I don't get the Big Wheel chase through New York City,
Put fucking Cotton King in there. You know, he's a Batman villain. I don't give a shit. Just put him in there.
get the wall.
All right. You know what? I just want to, unrelated to anything, I want a video game adaptation of Superior Foes of Spider-Man. If
Marvel or Sony weren't cowards, we would have had a Superior Foes movie.
I know.
But instead, they want to make fucking El Muerto. Eat shit, Sony.
Sorry you hate Latinos, Derek. Sorry you hate Bad Bunny.
It's
Sorry you hate Puerto
Morbin
Ricans.
time.
If it was up to
y'all.
me,
Sorry
I'd
you
kick
hate-
you and Finn off the podcast.
Sorry you hate Puerto Ricans, bro. They've been rough.
So I'm so hyped for Madam Web.
So I guess
high.
it's
Just want to say that looks so bad.
yeah.
It looks really
I
terrible.
guess we're on to me. So for my runner-up was the Resident Evil 4 remake. Look, Resident Evil 4 is not only one of my favorite games of all time, Like, and Resident Evil is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I think Resident Evil 4, most of us can agree, whether you like it or not, it's one of the most important games of all time. I mean,
my literal sentiment. Yeah,
it codified so much about what we understand about modern game design, good or bad.
Every
comes from
third-person
Resident Evil
shooter,
4.
Derek, would not exist without that game.
Exactly. You know, to the point where like the entire next console generation was defined by games that were just trying to be Resident Evil 4. You know, but with waist-high walls. Thanks Gears of War. But the Resident Evil 4 remake, everybody said for years, there's no fucking way you make Resident Evil 4 like you remake it and it be any good, that you keep the magic of the original, that you don't cut half the game out. Everybody was like, this is just going to be impossible. And then, so that was always the question. How do you remake Resident Evil 4? It's the impossible question. And Capcom said, you just fucking do it. And it worked.
You don't, like, they did it great in the sense that they didn't change it. Like, you know, other than a few story beats, but like, they didn't change the gameplay. It was just same. And it's like, that's what you need to do when you remake a game.
Yeah.
It's just keep it the same, give it pretty graphic.
It's shocking how well they updated almost every aspect of it, while cutting basically nothing of note.
Yes.
And
they cut
keeping
nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
well, especially with Assignment Ada bringing back the one boss that got cut.
the U3.
Yeah, which was like the boss that mattered the least anyway.
And Derek, you called it before. As soon as they announced it, you were like,
I was like,
that other. You were like, that other Verdugo is going to wind up being U3.
Right. I mean, it was also kind of telegraphed in the game itself, but like, regardless. But yeah, so the Resident Evil 4 remake, I had a blast. It was a wonderful time. I have so many very powerful memories of playing Resident Evil 4, and a remake this good. Like, it's a testament to how good last year was, that a remake, a fantastic remake of one of the best games ever made, only made it to a couple of our placements that did not make it to Game of the Year.
What's amazing to me, Derek, is they kept the pacing of Resident Evil 4 to this day is still immaculate, and they kept it. That to me was the most impressive.
And I've had too much fun with the Mercenaries. So for my other games, they're all games we've talked about at length to some degree or another, right? Armored Core 6 was Bustin's runner-up. And Armored Core 6 is fantastic. It's a nearly orgasmic game to play. It is so buttery smooth that it's been lubed up with silicone. Like, it is a game that is so fun to play. It's so smooth. It's so responsive.
Armored.
Are you okay, Britt?
No, CJ exists.
I can't see the chat right now.
We almost made it a show.
Fires of Gooning Clown. Fucking.
we gotta add Brit to the Goonie Village.
To be fair, Derek, your descriptions were overtly sexual in nature.
That's how it feels
Derek's
to play. This is a sexually good game. I don't know how to explain it.
Game.
Armored Core 6 is like, its narrative is almost nonsense. Like, it's more straightforward than most FromSoft games. But they took a series that was super unapproachable and made it a lot more approachable to pick up and play, a lot more responsive, something that feels good to the average gamer. It's very like forgiving in terms of a lot of the design decisions, while still retaining like its identity as a difficult game that requires heavy execution to get through. And like, look, it's unfair. I'm a sucker for giant robots. We all know this, but I didn't just pick this game because it's got big robots. It's very good to play. Alan Wake 2, we all went over at length. Alan Wake 2 was incredible. I've already said my piece. I don't need to say any more. My last honorable mention is Slay the Princess. Slay the Princess is a game that Finn first brought up because he saw it at PAX. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting, but whatever. And then we got a review code and Britt took it on for review and did a stream that I sat in on, and I had to leave the stream early because I was just
He abandoned
I've
me.
seen too much already and I need to play this. And like I went and bought it and downloaded it and played it. And it was
I influenced.
You sure did. And there's not much I can say about Slay the Princess because I want people to go into it as blind
That was my
as
thing when I
possible.
was trying to talk about it. I didn't want to say anything. It's just one of those games.
I can't say much, but it is if you are open to a visual novel experience, and you should be, because I think that you're a fucking Philistine if you're not. And please avoid my judgment. Slay the Princess is one of the easiest buys you can make. It is such a unique piece of atmosphere and narrative. It is the Stanley Parable mixed with like truly bizarre like gothic romance. Is the only way I know how to explain it. And I truly love that game so much more. I mean, again, it made it on my list well above a lot of other games I loved this year, like Spider-Man, I loved for sure. Final Fantasy 16, I loved for sure. But like Slay the Princess belonged on this list for me. And
it's very different.
Yes. And with that, that's our games.
That's a game of the year show.
That's our games of the year.
All right.
Hitting right at about 2 hours. Let me, if I may, burn through the announcements. As always, please feel free to join the Discord. It is a very safe and very heavily moderated environment where folks of all different kinds of backgrounds can come to talk about things. It's a lot of great folks in there. Pretty much all of our regulars are really, really good folks. It is all of our moderators are really good folks. Everybody's coming at everything in the best of faith. It's a truly great little place, much safer than being out and open on Twitter. Reminder that you can support us by either, well, that's not the right command, by either subbing to us on Twitch or supporting us on Patreon. That will help us raise a little money to replace busted equipment. We have a couple pieces of equipment that kind of need to be replaced, if we're being honest. And we also have a relatively expensive trip to PAX East coming up, where Finn has a panel, and I may or may not have a panel. It's waitlisted, but I've been told there's a good chance that it will get off the wait list. One of the things I'm going to ask folks to do is, I am working out our panel for the best boys of Final Fantasy, and I need help. I need responses. We did the qualifying round, and that's fantastic, but now I need people to vote on their actual favorite boys of Final Fantasy. So I'm going to drop that in the chat there. This is going to be open for another 2 weeks before I close. If we don't get to do the panel on this, we'll probably do a pre-recorded thing at some point, because I know Ben was excited to do this with us, and we all have strong opinions.
I need it to be known that my panel I submitted as like a last minute, just like fun, like bonus thing. In no world is it a better idea than this one. And
yeah, but like this is not a zero sum
world. This would have been approved.
I appreciate that, but this is not a zero sum game,
right?
So
it's been waitlisted, and I've had people reach out and say that they've had their waitlisted panels absolutely happen. So we'll see.
That said, my panel is called Dragon Ballin', ranking the best and worst of the Dragon Ball video games.
So that is, I think, all of the announcements we have.
Yep, I'll go ahead and take us home. Before we get out of here, I just want to apologize to everyone in chat and everyone here on the podcast for losing my temper at that idiot in the chat. My service in Afghanistan, I'm very both proud of and very sensitive of, and I'm easily triggered by anyone questioning it. So sorry. After having dealt with that all day today, that kind of broke me. Yeah. But I apologize for derailing the podcast. I really do. And aside from that, Good night, everyone. Remember, kindness costs nothing. Also, Silent Hill, The Short Messenger costs nothing, and it's a terrible fucking game, and you shouldn't play it even though it's free. Good night.
It's the best.
But I'm game.